pre-war days. Despite the grinding poverty, he still looks back on the initial build-up to the crisis fondly. The night it all hit home for him, he'd been making good tips at his job at the V&A waterfront, and the Springboks were smashing the All Blacks, enough to put a smile on any South African's face. Tired and heading home, Inyati became aware of gunfire. This wasn't so unusual growing up in the township, but it soon becomes clear this isn't just a gang row that got out of hand. The shots continue, and he smells smoke as a crowd forms, fleeing from the area. Refusing to leave his family, Inyati tries to wade through the crowd, but gets shoved through one of the makeshift buildings which promptly collapses on top of him. On breaking free, he sees the cause of the commotion, a group of 10 or 15, silhouetted against the flames as they shamble towards him with outstretched arms. Inyati barely escapes just one of them, as the township dissolves into burning buildings and screams and grasping hands reaching from the smoke. He tries to help a mother and her children, but nothing he says can persuade her to leave her home, as she swings at him with a knife. Inyati still thinks of her. Sometimes in his dreams he sees them again, sometimes they're his own family. Seeing light ahead, Inyati rushes for it, coming into the open just as something slams into his shoulder and he's out cold before he even hits the ground. He comes to, full of morphine in a hospital, having been shot in the shoulder by the police. Distantly, he hears doctors outside arguing about the disease, and whether or not it's rabies. This was the first major outbreak, and unfortunately one of the most important for setting the tone of the early days of the walking plague. Through multiple other people, we learned that the media caught wind of early events and labelled the disease African rabies, delivering a twofold strike as to how seriously the global north would take it. For one, it coupled it with another well-known disease that you can already get vaccinated against. Despite obviously being untrue and unrelated, those who actually believed early stories didn't believe it would be that bad. On top of that, it's made out to be exclusively African, as well as being used to lump and other multiple diverse countries to a single monolithic continent. It's also just viewed as not their problem. Terrifying as lethal tropical diseases may sound, they're far away, and thus not much of a concern for Europe or America. To many, even if it sounded scary, African rabies likely didn't sound any more imminent than Ebola, until it potentially became a threat to them. African rabies belongs to Africa, and it isn't for them to worry about. Only when it came to their shores was it a cause for concern, and by then the attitude built up to it and the waters muddied by misinformation meant that it was already too late. But there was some early effort to try and collect sincere information on the coming threat. Jürgen Warmbrunn is ex-Israeli intelligence, and first picked up that something may be going on trying to decode Chinese messages from Taiwan. Apparently it had been a sloppy translation job, but upon reading them it turns out the characters were transcribed just fine. It's just the messages that are unintelligible. World War Z, an oral history to appear as they passed the border. One by one, they had to walk through a gauntlet of cages containing huge, fierce dogs.